Hello, today we are going to install the next Windows Server 2025, so a pre-release version of the next version of Windows Server in a QEMU virtual machine using virtio. So this is the next version of Windows Server, codename vnext. The new name will be 2025. It was revealed this year. And there's the Windows Insider program where you can get the latest build. These are the main features: improvements in Active Directory, Windows Update, installing patches without restarting the computer, Hyper-V GPU, network attached storage NVMe TCP, Samba, so this is the Windows shares improved security, and also this one. This is the list of builds, and we're installing the latest build available. Okay, for virtio drivers, let's find them. ISO Windows. So virtio will be available as an ISO, which we will need to add as a CD-ROM to the QEMU virtual machine. The latest version is 0.1.248. It's also available in this directory, latest virtio. And we need the ISO file, either this or that. Probably this is a symlink to this one. I already have it downloaded. So let's start installing and creating the QEMU virtual machine. Let's create the virtual machine. File, new virtual machine, local ISO, browse Windows Server. It recognizes it as similar to Windows Server 2022. Forward 10, 14, 150. Customize. I only have one CPU socket. Let's make the hard disk faster by using virtio. Let's make the network interface card faster by using virtio. And Windows Server 2022 does not have built-in drivers for virtio, so we'll need to add an additional CD-ROM. With the virtio ISO, the newest one. Finish. So we have two CD-ROMs. In the first one is the ISO for the Windows installer. In the second is the ISO for virtio drivers for Windows. The rest of the settings are okay. Let's begin installation. Booting from the CD-ROM. English US. English US. Install. I agree that files will be deleted. I don't have a product key. Windows Server 2025 standard, but with desktop experience. Otherwise, it's just a cmd.exe experience. Next. EULA. Doesn't find any virtual hard disk because the virtual hard disk requires Windows virtio drivers. So let's load those drivers. Browse, virtio win, eaca1621. There's no directory in here for Windows Server 2025 yet, 2025, but there's one for Windows Server 2022, this guy. Click on Red Hat Virtio SCSI controller, install. We can press next. My last chance to stop. So it will install Windows Server 2025 standard with desktop experience, important, and will keep nothing from the virtual hard disk. Install. So Windows Server will install, will restart a couple of times. Will install to the virtual hard disk, which is fast, of type virtio. We've provided additional drivers for virtio for the virtual hard disk. And we'll be back once the installer is further. Okay, the computer has restarted once. Okay, it will probably restart another time. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, it's time to enter the product key. Do this later. Administrator, password, it needs a stronger one. Finish. Ctrl-Alt-Delete to unlock. Send key, Ctrl-Alt-Delete. It's creating the desktop for the user, administrator. So this is the local Windows user administrator. Some diagnostic data will be sent to Microsoft because this is a pre-release build which is intended for people that want to help Microsoft in testing and improving Windows Server 2025. Optional and required only. Let's go with required only. Accept. And we're inside of the desktop experience. We have the Windows panel, the taskbar, similar to Windows 11, and Server Manager, a similar experience to the last 4 versions of Windows Server, major versions. Okay, there's Windows Admin Center, Azure Arc. As alternatives to this bad graphical user interface application, which is Server Manager. Okay, let's say don't show this message again. Okay. So we have the virtual hard disk, we've installed Windows Server on it, but we don't have internet connection yet. Let's look at the CD-ROMs. We have one which is drive D colon, which is the Windows installer ISO, and then virtio win. Right click on the Windows Start menu, Device Manager. Let's install the Ethernet controller, right click on it, update driver, browse my computer for drivers, browse virtio, include subfolders, next. It has found the correct Windows Server 2025 virtio network interface card driver. And we only have 2 more devices that do not have drivers. Let's go the same thing. Update driver, browse my computer for drivers, // include subfolders, next. This is the memory ballooning virtio balloon driver. And the final one, browse my computer, // okay. So now in Device Manager, which you can start by right-clicking on the Windows Start menu and Device Manager, there's no unknown devices. All of the devices have Windows kernel driver modules. Okay, the network interface card should have been already configured correctly. Let's see if we can connect to the internet. Start without my data. Don't bring anything. Continue without data. Okay, so this is a web page. It managed to connect online. What extra steps can we do? Let's actually enable remote desktop. How do we do that? System, advanced system settings, remote, allow remote connections to this computer. It says that it will modify the Windows firewall with advanced security. My user, the user administrator, already has remote desktop protocol access. Apply. Okay. And let's connect to the computer, the virtual machine, using an RDP client. In here we have the IP address. We can eventually log out. See how we do that. Administrator, sign out. Okay, this is my wiki page about the remote desktop protocol. Can be installed on Linux FreeBSD. It's installed by default on Windows. You just need to enable it. And since my host machine is running Linux, I'm going to use this client, which is xfreerdp. Okay, let's edit a bit the command line. The IPv4 address ends with 41. The username is administrator. Resolution is okay. IP address okay. Maximum speed possible and maximum features for the remote desktop protocol. Dynamic resolution to resize the virtual machine when we resize the RDP client window and bring the sound to the host machine. Okay, do I trust this self-signed certificate? Unfortunately, I did not rename the machine previously, so that's a problem. Let's do that first. Ctrl-Alt-Delete. Right-click on the Start menu, System, rename this PC. So this was Win Server 2024. After I restart, I want to restart now. How do I restart? I don't know how to restart. Okay. The IP address, IPv4 address has remained the same. The DHCP server that's running inside the virtualization software, Virt Manager, provided this lease. Let's go Ctrl-C in here and let's try to connect again. And now the computer name is the correct one, Win Server 2025. That's the same name that I provided for the virtual machine and for the Windows installation. Do I trust the certificate? Yes. Password for the user administrator. And now we're connected using the xfreerdp remote desktop protocol client. This is very advantageous because we can resize the RDP client window as we want. We can make it a quarter of screen, half of the screen, and that will tell the Windows Server virtual machine, hey, please change your resolution. And also copy paste of text should work correctly. Let's see if we have a notepad in here. Notepad, copy this thing here, and it works. Okay, from now on, we have little usage for this virtualization software window. I want to not use the graphical console of the virtualization software. I usually connect to virtual machines in text user mode using OpenSSH server and in graphical user interface mode using the remote desktop protocol. At this point, I could even not install a web browser inside of the Windows Server because I can use the web browser that's installed on the host machine. Okay. Other things which I usually do to my computers is disable Windows Firewall with advanced security. Why do I do this? Because it's a home local area network that's guarded by a gateway, which connects to the internet, which provides network address translation. So there's no bad actors here. So let's do that. In a production machine, once you have it configured correctly, yeah, re-enable Windows Firewall and set the firewall rules correctly. But as I'm just installing the virtual machine, I don't exactly know how I'm going to configure it. This will remove a ton of headache. And maybe once I figure out exactly how to install the virtual machine, what I want it to run, what payload I want to have on it, maybe I'll reinstall the Windows Server 2025 virtual machine from scratch, and this time not disable things on it. Just install the payload that I want to run on this virtual machine. Okay. Let's see if there's the local group policy in here. Okay. Administrative templates, Windows components. Do we have the Microsoft Defender antivirus? Yes, we have it. We can disable it if we want. In the name of speed. What about Windows Update? End user experience, configure automatic updates. I can disable those in the name of speed. Okay, so a very similar experience to Windows 11. Fast. I totally like it. From now on, I usually terraform my computer, so that means using the only web browser that's available in that operating system, in this case Microsoft Edge. I'm going to install the software that I usually use, which is Mozilla Firefox, WinMerge, Git, KD, Kate Text Editor, Visual Studio Code, etc. So this is it. This is how you install Windows Server 2022, the preview ISOs, in a QEMU virtual machine using virtio in the name of speed. We have installed the Windows Server 2025 virtio drivers, and then we've enabled the remote desktop protocol server in Windows Server, and we're only connecting to the virtual machine using an RDP client. My favorite RDP client for Linux is FreeRDP. If you're connecting from another Windows machine, then you're probably going to use the default remote desktop protocol client that exists in Windows, or maybe sysinternals suit RDCMon. Thank you.